Hi everyone and welcome to the Artist Spotlight with me, Simi Jackson, and my guest today, Omar ORTIZ. Omar is born and raised in Mexico with his wife and his daughter. He's well known across the world for his hyper-realist style, which is replicating the human figure to an extraordinary likeness. His work has blown me away since the moment I saw it, and I think anybody would be hard pushed not to find what he does just quite remarkable. So I'm really excited to welcome Omar all the way from sunny Mexico today, and I hope that you'll all enjoy this interview. So here we go. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Simi. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's my pleasure. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Well, I said sunny Mexico. I just wanted to check. It's technically your summer now down there, right?
Well, we are practically entering winter, but winter here is not what you guys know at the UK. So today is a sunny day. Maybe as you can see, my bald head is shining because of the sun. And yeah, we have good weather right now here.
I don't know why I thought Mexico was the southern hemisphere. I've traveled a lot around South America, but I guess
it's on the northern hemisphere.
Northern hemisphere. Huh. So you have the same seasons as us. So winter for you is nothing like our winter. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Not at all. The coldest month here could be January. A bit cold on December and January and February.
But no snow?
No. Well, maybe in some areas of the country, but not where I live. I believe it snowed here around 12 years ago, and it was something really, really strange. It's not normal to snow in Guadalajara, which is practically the second biggest city in Mexico. Mm-hmm. The obviously the biggest one is Mexico City. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I live in Guadalajara, which is in the center of Mexico.
Okay. I gotta come and visit one day. I travel a lot, but I don't know why I've not reached Mexico yet, but I'd love to come.
Yeah.
So one of my
put it in your checklist. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. One of my first questions then was, everywhere that you read about yourself, you've lived in the same area all your life, and you still live there now. Is that true?
No. Almost all my life. I only lived around 3 years when I was like 7 years old in the States, in the United States. Mm-hmm. Specifically in Arizona, near to Phoenix, I believe. So I was a child. I used to attend to elementary school, and that is where I learned English for 3 years because I lived there. And I believe that is something that I have to be thankful to my parents for taking me there, because knowing English has opened me a lot of doors professionally. I don't know if I would be where I am, on social network and traveling, giving workshops in other countries, if I didn't know English. It's not perfect. I need to improve on my English, but I know to speak English since I was a small boy, a child, and I believe I didn't forget it.
Yeah, no, you've got no problems with your English. My Spanish is muy mal.
Muy mal.
Yeah, okay. Not good. I can get by, but not well. So you don't have to worry about your English. So at that point, then I'm going to ask you, because you touched on it, about your workshops. Tell us more. I know that you have travelled all over the world, and not a lot of people can say that. So how did that come about?
Yeah. Well, I don't believe I've traveled all around the world. There's still a lot of places that I would like to go and meet people and share. This adventure started in 2014, thanks to a gallery in Spain that was already giving workshops with famous artists, and they invited me when it's called La Galería Roja. It's in Sevilla in 2014. So when they extended the invitation, I was terrified. I was nervous. My hands were sweating because I don't have formal education on artistics, on art. I studied graphic design, and after that, well, the life path sent me through a way of living from art. So I'm still learning a lot of things and trying to read books and visiting museums and trying to know all the things that I didn't have in this formal education. So I was very nervous, but I said, well, okay, if you don't risk in life, then you don't achieve things. So I like to take risks, and I decided to go. It was my first travel overseas to Europe. I also wanted to know Europe, so I took my wife, and after the workshop, we visited a few cities and what blah blah blah. So after that workshop, I believe there was like 2 years that I didn't have any workshop activities. I don't know if I did a good workshop or not. I just tried to share with the students and go by with my with my nerves. I was very nervous. And after that, a second invitation from Madrid, and I was like, wow. Another opportunity to go to Europe. And then, long story short, today I believe I have given more than between 35 and 40 workshops. The majority in Mexico City and here in Guadalajara, which is where I live, and the other ones in Argentina, in Turkey, in France, in Spain, and the U.S., and uh, where else? The Netherlands, and there were plans to go to Italy, to Sweden, no, Switzerland this year, but with COVID, everything stopped, So I believe I have came out with like a formula or a method to give workshops, and I think I have learned a lot from the fact that I have to give a class and I had to memorize the name of the colors because before that I didn't even know the name of the oil tubes because I'm more like what my eyes see and what I can interpretate. So if I need a red, I just pull out a tube and make my mixtures, and I was okay with color, but I was not okay with words. Also, something that helped me develop a lot was get a little bit of confidence in myself. I don't like interviews regularly, and I don't pretty much like to speak with big groups of people, but you have to go by, you need to learn that, and having workshops with 20 people that are eager to listen to you and hear you express yourselves and share your thoughts and your method, and it has helped me a lot to get better than that. So I've learned a lot, and I can't say I have taught. I don't even know if I'm doing things right, but what I always say to my students, the first minute that we get into the class after you say welcome is, I'm not here to teach you. I'm here to share with you what I do and how I do it, and maybe it works for you. So that way I kind of like get a relief that I'm not the figure that is going to say how things are done because I don't know if I'm doing them properly. It works for me. It has been working for me for the past 18 years, so I want to share that with the students.
I think you're very modest.
Okay.
You're very modest because it obviously works, and I've heard from many people who've bought your brushes through us that they've said you're an excellent teacher. So yeah, I mean,
appreciate that.
I can't imagine what it must be like to teach in a language that's not your mother tongue. That's next level,
Yeah, yeah.
How did you come across that challenge then? Has that helped your English?
Yes, it has helped my English, and it has also helped me uh, either if I'm giving a workshop in English or in Spanish. It helps me put in words what I was very comfortable doing with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to be a bit more articulated because when you're painting in front of a class or the class behind you, they want to see you, but they also want to get into your head.
Yeah.
They want to know exactly what you're thinking. So each movement, each decision of which color, what percent, what amount, what medium, why did you pick that brush? What is the type of hair important? So I work very slow when I'm in the workshops because I try to put in words each movement and each thought, so we advance slowly, but the class always is grateful that they can get into my head,
Yeah.
like what goes on your mind when why do you take that decision, or why did you pick some certain blue to paint certain areas if we are all used to paint with warm colors when we paint the skin. So trying to explain that, you need to put it in words. You
Right.
can't just paint and people will go out without knowing how did you do it. So that helped me a lot, and it has been a challenge. For example, I believe the most strange workshop that I gave was in Istanbul, and most of the students were Arabs or from that type of area, and some of them didn't even speak English, and English is not my main language. So we used to have like translators
Mm-hmm.
that listen to me in my bad English and then translate to Turkish or to Arab,
Arabic.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so there was a few moments during the workshop that I was kind of like nervous, and I
Yeah,
didn't
I
know
bet.
if people were comfortable with what was happening. And when the people saw me that I was kind of like out of my comfort zone, uh, I appreciate that because they all told me that I should be calm, that I should do what I know how to do, and they were grateful that I traveled all around the world just to show in person how I achieved colors, how I worked with layers, and they were grateful just to watch,
Yeah, of
even though
course.
it was not too much of information going on,
Mm.
and that gave me a really good time. And
Yeah.
after that, the workshop flowed very good.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know,
It is to
when you
have those type of experience.
yeah, when you get home after that, what do you tell your wife?
Um, well, I don't really talk about my work with my wife. I tend to leave work in the studio, and once I cross the door from my studio to my house, it's like, okay, I will uh, share relevant things, but after that, details, it's like when I put away my shirt of artist or painter and I put on my shirt of husband or father.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not easy though.
I try. I know it's hard to keep a balance.
Mhm.
It is really hard because when I started this career 18 years ago, more or less, my main teacher or my most important teacher that that showed me what was the art world like. She how do I say? She told me like a warning that the paint or the painting career was the most jealous girlfriend that you can have in your life. I was not married at that time, so it was like, be careful if you want to
Yeah.
dedicate your life to this. you need to be aware that this is the most jealous girlfriend that you will ever have in your life. And I believe it's true. If you want to do something in your life from art, you need to dedicate, you need to be passionate, and you need to live in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the night, thinking and thinking how to achieve, how to improve, or, you know.
Yeah. So I guess a question I have for you is how you come up with a new piece. So like the beautiful piece that's behind you there, what is it that says to you, I want to paint that?
Um, okay, that's a hard question.
Sorry.
Normally, it is for me to have certain concepts really clear of where my paints where my paintings are going, like uh, in a certain way they all are similar. I'm not suddenly painting landscapes and then still life and then animals. I through years I found out that what it makes me really be passionate about is the human figure. Okay, and there are certain concepts that are a constant in my work, which is simplicity, which is detail, which is line, form, color, which is like geometrical lines. Um, so I try to not to tell a complicated story with my paintings. Maybe you can notice that. I try to wake up an emotion on the viewer. If I can achieve to wake up an emotion, maybe sadness, maybe happiness, maybe this wow factor, I don't know. But if I can achieve that, then I think I did something good. So my in Spanish we say pretexto, which would be like something that you use to do something else. I mean, the human figure is the
Like the journey? Kind of like the journey?
no, I think it's another word, but uh, I'm passionate about the beauty and what a human body can transmit, maybe only with the hands, maybe only with a small part of the body, maybe okay the face, the portrait, or maybe the whole body. And I always pick my poses. uh, it's the pursuit of beauty and aesthetics is what moves me, and the control of the materials, the control of the language of the painter, which is lines. It's how do you say, three-dimensional. And since I'm a graphic designer and I took some classes about marketing and all these things, I'm always eager to bring in the viewer this wow factor. So I try to push my work to another level, but not to at this moment. And from 7 or 8 years to this moment, I tried to go away from just copying a photograph, which I pretended to do that maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But there's a moment in your career where that doesn't satisfy you enough, and you believe that you can do more than what just a good photograph gives you. So I use photographs as reference for my work, but I'm always having in my mind that I want to improve it. I want to put things away and add other things so that I'm not just making a copy of a photograph. I'm adding stuff to what I believe the colors that I see in reality, and the photograph, even though it's a good camera or a good, uh, uh, how do I say, a tablet or a computer, or you're very good at photography trying to imitate reality, but actually your eyes can see something really different than what mechanicals
Sure.
software and all this. So I try to make a balance between what I want to the viewer to focus and put other things out of focus, or just like with one or two hands of paint with no detail. So I believe that as a painter, you have to be better than what a good photograph gives you. So that's, like the how do I say, reto is like the challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So, like the painting that's behind you, would you do a small, like, study from life, or would you do a thumbnail sketch, or how does it get to that size from your screen or from your mind?
Okay, my regular process is that I believe you start building a painting actually when you're watching a movie, or when you're listening to a song, or when you're having a discussion with friends, or doing whatever that it is that you're doing during the day can inspire you to make up a painting in your mind, maybe, like the idea or the themes that you want to approach. Also, looking at other artists that you like, their work, it also inspires. So I believe that you have something that you can't always put in words in your mind, and you start building up the composition and the painting since there. The second process is when you pick your model. What type of skin, what color of the skin, what type of hair do you want? Because you want to say something, okay? I want the pursuit of what I believe is beautiful, aesthetic, and that's what moves me in this period of my life. I don't know if 10 years from now I will be painting only old people, or maybe not even people. I don't know, but at this moment, this is what moves me. This is what I want to play with. This is the form and the lines that I believe are aesthetic, because I like very much the work of Michelangelo and all these artists that were pursuing, like uh, canons of beauty that from Renaissance to date, there some of them have been constant. Fashion and the human body has changed. We know that. So I try to put a lot of things away from the model that can tell you a period of time, or society, or behaviors, or if you can see maybe and you look at my work, you probably won't say that I paint Mexican themes or I paint Mexican women, because there's no clothes, because there's no earrings, because there's no tattoos, because so when I pick a model, I always tell her to be like the more natural that they can be. I don't want things to be related to a certain period, so I want it to be like on a cloud where you can't really define what period is it, but so that's why I use very small amount of materials. I love to paint drapery, and I love to paint text. So right now I'm playing around with having fun with loads of paint on the backgrounds where I'm not really worried, but I just want to give the sensation of a like this one, like a cracked wood,
Yeah.
old wood, just to give a feeling that when you see the painting in life, it's not the same to see them like in social networks or in photographs where you can't feel the texture. I like to build up the paint upon layers and lots of paint so that you won't be confused if it's a photograph, if it's a print. You actually can say it's a painting.
Yeah.
But I put in a lot of work to what fascinates me, what moves me, which is to represent the most natural or accurate way, with not being so obsessive with each little hair of the hand. I mean, I try to give the idea that the hand has texture and it has hairs, but I don't want to paint each hair, because I believe that's not the important thing. The important thing is to give an idea, a sensation. So uh, I'm really free with the backgrounds, and sometimes they don't even actually fit with, the perspective or whatever, but I don't mind. And I try to be more methodic with the human figure.
With the
So
figure.
I start building the paint when I'm thinking on some ideas, when I pick the model, and when I tell the model. Sometimes you have a session of 3 or 4 hours, and the first 2 hours really are not the best ones because you are trying to instruct the model on what type of poses you want, on if she puts the hand like this, she is saying something, but what if the hand is like this, she is saying something else. So you need to like instruct the model to take a pose that you think it's beautiful, that it's like a sculpture, a Greek sculpture or something. And once she gets the idea, sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't, but uh, now you start taking some shots that are better. So I end up with 300 or 400 pictures that some of them were planned before the session and some of them are spontaneous. And what actually happens is that most of the times I pick the ones that weren't planned,
right,
because are the ones that are more natural. And when you're asking the model to do this, to do that, it looks like posed, a bit forced, and it's not natural. So the other hours and hours of work is when you're trying to choose the images that tell you something. Sometimes you don't even know what you want to say, and sometimes you finish the painting and you don't even know what you wanted to say with that. And sometimes you are very, like eager to make a masterpiece and you try to force things from the beginning and you finish and you publish it and you see that it doesn't have the impact that you thought it would. And other pieces that you're not really, like, oh, okay, I did this one and I believe it's okay. And then you start to get feedback from the people. Wow, what a masterpiece! I love this one, and you're like, wow, I don't understand what happened, and I can't say in words exactly what was going on. I just know that for somehow some of the decisions that I took were like inspired from your heart, not really from the reason. And you never know what's going to be a masterpiece or not. You can't really, I believe you can't really plan that from the beginning. And I also believe in my person that when you have to explain your painting, you're finished. I believe the painting has to say something by its own. You don't need to explain a story to make a person go wow, and then with the exactly same words that you said, they're going to repeat that story to the person that they're going to show the painting that they bought, to feel that they understand the artist. I don't know if that has happened to you or that you know about that, but it happens. So I don't like to try to explain because I think there's not much to explain. I'm more like just to present, and from that, the painting will take its own life. Some of them do, some of them don't, but we're in this journey to uh, try and try and try again. Okay, I think I talk too much.
No, no, I'm interviewing you, so you are meant to be the one that talks. I usually think I talk too much in other people's interviews.
Okay.
So don't worry, I'm going to keep going. I've got a million questions. So my next question then is, when you say you don't know what it's going to be a masterpiece, you don't know if when you first start out, if something's going to work. How do you then decide how you're going to sell that piece? Because, as an artist like yourself, it's something that you want to achieve at the end of it to try and sell it, I'm sure. So how do you decide if that's going to go to this gallery or this gallery, etc.?
Okay, I believe I have a certain way of working and selling. I don't know if most of the artists do it this way. It's like a method that I have developed for the past maybe 10 years, where I work based on a waiting list. When the painting goes to a private collector, and also to a gallery. So after I pick my pictures and be a bit creative on computer, because I work with Photoshop and all these software that I learned at college. I don't usually make, handmade, how do you say this, when you make your drawing before your painting. In Spanish we say bocetos. Sketches, exactly. Yeah. I don't make my sketches by hand. I do all everything happens in the computer. So when I have a client that is on my waiting list and that it's almost his turn, it's my work to present him proposals or options of what I have in mind, what I have planned, and what compositions I have made. And maybe he tells me, okay, from the series of hands that you have painted, I would like to purchase a painting of hands. Okay, I ask questions, I interrogate the client, and I try to see what he wants. But at the end, it's my proposal. Maybe I can make one or two proposals and by digital, and the client feels that that's the one he wants. So I put that image uh, ready for a painting. But sometimes the client is not really sure, and it takes me 8 or 10 proposals until we get to like an arrangement. Mm-hmm. But finally, it's what I want to paint. Mm-hmm. He's not going to purchase whatever comes out at the moment that it's his turn to buy. See, right. I present options, and if we don't get an arrangement, then maybe it's time to say, okay, I see that I can't fulfill your needs or your wishes. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to paint what you want me to paint, because I don't paint by commission. If the client tells me, I want you to do this or that, or I want a portrait, I always say, sorry, but no, I can't. At the end, it's my proposal, and I believe it's something that I don't like to face. I don't like the stress of the client being over you, telling that maybe the colors are not right, or can you change the background, or if you're making a portrait, I believe that's not the smile of my wife, and the light of the eyes, she's more joyful, and you're like, how do I translate that to forms and color? And it's always stressful trying to please the client. So I try to be the final, like the client. So I decide if I change the structure of the model, if I rotate the head, if I change the color of the hair or the background or whatever. So I give a digital proposal to the client, and if the client is pleased with that, that's exactly pretty much how it's going to look at the end. Maybe it's small changes, but I don't make drastic changes. So whatever I decided on the digital image is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to paint. So that's how I work. And I believe from the past 10 years to now, I have never painted a big painting like this that is almost 2 meters wide without having a client that's going to be the collector for the painting. So I don't have paintings in my studio like to show to a gallery. Everything is like planned, painted, and delivered.
Wow. I wanted to tell you quickly a funny story about the, when you mentioned, that you didn't paint the wife in the exact way that they see them. I have a friend who's, I'm not going to say their name, but you know this painter, okay, and they're super influential in our world of art. And they painted a model once, and it was a family member of the person who'd commissioned it. And over the 2-year period, they had 14 different surgeries. Whether that
14 surgeries,
whether that was lips, eyes, breasts, you name it. So when the first photograph came through to the end one, it looked nothing alike. and they were never
Okay.
happy in the end. And I mean, other than it being quite funny, but it's also just a complete frustration for a lot of people that take on
Yes.
commissions. What is I think that's so brilliant. But what would be your
That's
advice?
exactly the reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your advice then, to try to so somebody who's watching this now that's in a situation where they find themselves working and earning a living from doing commissions, how can you advise them to move away from that? What advice can you give them?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I went through that, and people gave me this advice. At the beginning, you're not uh, you're not known. You don't have a signature.
Sure.
You don't have a market. You don't have something solid to say. You don't have a specific thing, and also you need to eat. So you need to put food on the table. I painted a lot of commissions, and I painted a lot of portraits. I don't know how much is too much, but I did plenty. And I went through all this, maybe not 14 surgeries, but maybe five or six.
Sure.
And it always generated me some stress. I believe all the artists go through this when you're painting a commission, especially when the client is always trying to get in. Because there's clients that believe in your work, that like your style, and they will be grateful with whatever comes out because that's why they chose you to do the portrait, okay? But there's two sides of the coin. And I went through that, and my art dealer and my art teacher always told me you need to find more hours than 24 each day to start painting what makes you happy, what you want to do. Okay, paint to eat, and pull out a couple of hours each day. I don't know how, but do something that you're not stressed out to sell. And when you have 3 or 4 or 5 paintings that you were for 1 year or 2 years storing away, just try to be like constant and try to say something that is you, that it's honest, that you're not with the pressure of selling it or people liking it or accepting. Even if you can, don't even post them on social network. There were no social network when I started 18 years ago, so I didn't have to worry about that. But it is an issue right now, and we're all, like doing something and you want to post it to find approval. Keep it away, keep it a secret. It's yours. And when you have something that tells a story or that goes with a theme. Maybe it's political shit, maybe it's religious, maybe it's painting child, or maybe, I don't know, apples or whatever. Whatever makes you happy, try to do it without the pressure of selling it. And when you have 4 or 5 paintings that speak from around that series or that theme, then as an artist, I believe that you can say something. You can say, I do this is me, not that. Those are portraits and those are commissions that I need to eat, I have a family or whatever, but this is me. And if you did things right, and if they work, and if people like them, then little by little the balance starts to push away, and stop doing commissions, because what you are doing, people like it, and it's going to start selling. And maybe you can get to the point, that's what happened to me, that you can reject all the commissions because you have plenty of work of what you do, and that can put you on a level, a different level, and be recognized by something that is maybe different. I don't know if I'm doing things different or not. I don't want to say that. I'm still in that path, trying to insist, and for me, it's always more complicated. The In Spanish we say discurso is what you say. Are you
Right.
really proposing something that is different?
Discourse.
I mean, the technical part is a bit more easy to me because I think I'm good with my hands. I can see colors. I can solve things. I can think on how did he do that. Maybe I can replicate it. I'm healthy. I have two hands. I have wonderful brushes. I have oils. I can do that. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
But what you are saying, is it really different? Is it really proposing something new? Is it making you unique? That's the real struggle for me. And as you can see in social network, you always get like feedback, and there's people that say, oh, you're boring. I can watch 10 paintings from you, and I think I already saw everything. You're just copying. You're not saying anything. You're not intellectual. And there's always a problem if you take all those comments, and if you're not confident on what you're doing and what you are trying to achieve, and if it makes you happy, you can't please people all around the world. You can't please everyone. You need to please yourself.
Right.
And if that is happening, then you're on the right path. Just be blind like horses and insist, and don't look, listen. And most of the times, the bad comments are the ones that make you grow.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're wonderful, this is great, and you're a master. You thank them, they please you, and maybe they make you build your ego, but they don't take you anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think I answered like 4 or 5 questions.
No, that was
I usually do this.
That was perfect.
I go away from the main question, but
no, not at all. I think one of the things that I find really strikes a chord with me is that we could get 100 emails in a day, and they'll all tell us how brilliant the brushes are, and you only need one person to try and put you down for whatever reason, that something didn't arrive on time and you've let them down, but it was a mistake, and it was out of our hands. So it's so refreshing to hear your idea of trying to have the blinkers on there, to just try and focus on what you're doing, and really you can only do your best. You really can. And I think so many of your followers would look at that, and the other nice thing is that people on social media generally tend to be quite kind. You always get some people that aren't going to be kind, but they wake up like that.
Yeah.
But the general people that follow you are the ones that are going, what's he going to post now? Or wow, and then once you post something, they'll screenshot it, they'll blow it up on their phone to see how you've done it, and they're interested, So I think 9 out of 10 or 99 out of 100, they're usually pretty much on your team,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if
and
you agree
I'm
with
thankful for that. Yeah. Yes. Normally you get one bad comment,
Yeah.
or harsh comment against 9 good comments.
Right.
But that's usually the one that takes your attention, because sometimes it's just people trying to be haters.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it actually is something that is wrong with what you're doing, and maybe you're not used to listen to bad comments, and maybe it moves you, but you need to look at it like with your feet on your ground, and maybe not reply or answer in that moment, because your guts are going to tell you to say something that maybe was not the proper. So you need to let it cool down, and after that, read it again and read it again, and maybe you'll say, this guy was right.
Yeah.
That's something, because you agree with me that I've always believed that the worst critic that can be is yourself, when you're honest, because you know what you are good at, and you know the lack of the things that you can do. And sometimes trying to go away on a comfort zone of what can put you on a strange situation, you pick only the things that you can solve on a painting. And sometimes the journey is not so the adventure of painting something, because everything is controlled and you know already how to do that. It's like a really straight line. But when you face things that you personally know that maybe you will have a hard time trying to solve that, or trying to project what you want the people to feel with the colors, with the softness, or with wet paint or dry paint, or I don't know, you name it. Sometimes we want to be on a comfort zone and we don't take those decisions. But when you decide to do them, it makes you grow bigger. It makes you grow faster, and it makes you face things that sometimes you are afraid.
Yeah, I agree. I have it big time. I was really scared about doing these interviews, and I put off doing them throughout the whole of lockdown. We're in lockdown too over here. But I don't know, something in me just clicked, and I thought, hang on a minute, we know so many amazing painters, and we could put a platform together here that's totally free for people to listen.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I wanted to bring out of this was how the top people have gone through struggles, and that you guys haven't just, boom, hey, that's Omar's work, and look how, I mean, you have over 500,000 Instagram followers, you've been round the world, etc. But it wasn't always like that, and that was one of the things that I really wanted this to be about, that people could not see you struggle, but learn of the path that you've taken, and learn some of the ways that you've been able to sideline them so that you've got to where you are. One of my questions with that in mind is, how do you handle rejection of I don't know, competitions? Have you had that in the past, or with galleries? How do you pick yourself up when it's not going right?
I believe I had a few like bad moments in life, and wrong decisions. You know that life and work and social relations and everything is always based on what are you deciding. Is it this or is it that? And it's all going to take you through different paths.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to, well, at least I think of myself as sometimes as a commercial way, as a product, because I studied graphic design and marketing, and I believe this Omar Ortiz, which is in the social network and internet, is like my product.
Mm-hmm.
If I know how to do that, then I'm going to manage it. So I try to create maybe like an image, or a personage. Is that the right name?
Yeah, like a.
So
yeah.
There's the person and the personage that is on the internet, and I try to do things that I know they work, but in my personal life, I believe I'm a totally, like, I don't know if totally different person, but I'm the most normal guy that you can think. I'm not, like a strange artist that goes through the street and doesn't look away because he believes that people don't deserve him, or I'm very, very ordinary, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, I try to take decisions that are going to put me in a position where I think I want to be or I should be. And maybe a good answer to this question, and I always share that with the students in the workshops, is that most of us don't know how to say no. You need to learn how to say no when you don't want to do whatever it is. There's a lot of things going here that right now at this moment, that everything is connected, and you can tomorrow have an invitation for a show in France, and you're in Southern America, and just to think in the fact that it is in France, you believe that it is wow. And sometimes without considering the fact that you need to have things on your side, you give everything away because you believe it's going to be spectacular, and you don't take your measurements.
Sure.
And it's going to put you, I'm pretty sure it's going to put you on a awkward position where the advantage is going to be on the other side, on the other person, on the gallery or whatever, because it has happened to me, and this I can share it. If you don't put the rules of the game and try to stick to it, And if the client or whoever is giving an invitation doesn't agree, maybe that wasn't meant for you, and you just have to say,
Right.
okay, thank you, that is not my way of working. Maybe you let go something that was probably interesting, but it could put you in an awkward position. So you need to set up the games of the rule and stick to it. Be,
Right.
be like firm on it. Because if you don't know how to say no and you say yes to everything, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a bad time. So
Yeah, I agree.
sometimes you take good decisions and sometimes bad, but you need to think to your advantage, because no one else is going to do that for you.
I'm with you. Do you know, Mum and I say this a lot, that it seems to be a trait with artists that they, a lot of the time, and this isn't for everybody, but a lot of artists forget about business because it's so personal. Yes. It's such a personal thing that they're going through, their journey. It's what their reflection of themselves, that they sign themselves up for the most craziest deals. Whether that's making a DVD and you can't then make another DVD for X amount of years with anybody else, or that you're with. I know a lady over in America, and she has a deal with a gallery. She can't then exhibit in any other gallery for like 250-mile radius, but it's her hometown. And on her doorstep, she's going to have, like, I would think, a couple of galleries that you think I could feed X, Y, Z, and you make sure that you're interested there. But I've seen it so many times where artists get stung by galleries or stung by people, sharks, for want of a better phrase.
Yes.
Complete sharks.
It is a shark tank. And the thing is that, okay, I have, I think, 2 comments on this line of conversation.
Share them, please.
First is that I don't like to compromise myself, especially in a long term, with anything, even though it's going to give you the most great exposure or whatever. I don't like to take the tall road. Is that how you call the road where you pay?
The high road.
Where you're going to be comfortable. I like to go on the free road. You see, I like to take my decisions. If I want to do this right now, I do it. If I don't, I go this way. I don't have to answer to anybody. That's what has gave me the freedom to take the decisions that I want, to stipulate the times that I'm going to take with a painting. So I always handle this with, I work with 3 galleries, and I have compromises, and I have my word on it, and I'm a man of a word, and if I say something, I do it. But at the end, I'm free. I mean, I don't have, I didn't stuck with something that that was going to give me a comfort zone, but I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So right now, I can take any decision. I think it's better. Maybe it's harder because it's uncertain, but I believe it's better for me. And the other thing is to stick with contracts and things that I don't know. I don't find myself on that.
I was going to ask you about that side of things. That there's got to be a fine line between you getting into the studio that day, switching on and painting, versus then the technicalities of signing contracts or making sure that you've got deposits in place. It's so important that you don't get stung, like a bee sting from that sort of thing. So how do you juggle that, the 2 sides?
I believe that if I wasn't a painter, maybe I would be an administrator. I don't know. I'm really methodic, and I like to plan everything that I'm doing. So besides trying to be a really good artist, you need to be a really good dealer also. You need to spend time. I know some artists that are very, very good, that are very romantic, that their style, their paintings are really good, but they don't know how to sell themselves.
Right.
They maybe they would be successful if someone that is really uh, confident or that is a really good friend would manage their career and put them where they should be. But if you don't have those two sides, maybe you will struggle because you will be a really good artist, but you will not know how to sell yourself.
Right.
I believe I have a bit, small, tiny bit of both things. So I manage my social network. I answer emails. I have a friend that is a lawyer and that helps me with some contracts. You need to have everything written so that you don't have surprises on the way and things that you didn't stipulate or talk or establish before, and maybe you are thinking something and you assume that that's how it's going to be because that's the most natural way of thinking it. Maybe the client or the collector or the gallery has another idea, and if you don't talk that, if you don't establish that before, you can have many surprises. So
Right.
I'm a guy that likes to play chess, and I've always liked to play strategy games. So I believe life is like a game. If you don't plan your things and build up on solid ground, you will always have surprises because you're taking decisions at the moment.
Right.
You're not anticipating things. I don't know if I explain myself.
No, I get you. So in that sense, then, do you have to kind of like organize your day to know I've got a couple of hours to paint here and then you break away, or is it back and forth, or do you have more of a routine?
It is always back and forth. There sometimes I spend 5 hours on the computer, and maybe 4 of those hours were managing things, planning things, working on ideas, but also answering emails, checking accounts. Did you have the anticipated painting for what you're going to start in 1 month from now? And administrating yourself. I also have this platform that's called Patreon.
Yeah.
I film myself. I edit the videos. I put in some graphic designs into it. I have people here that help me with translation and subtitles. I post them to YouTube. I check the metrics and the statics and if things are working. So you need to, well, that's how I manage my time. I do a lot of things, and sometimes at the studio actually painting, I spend 1 or 2 hours. And I'm frustrated with that because actually sitting in front of the canvas and painting is what makes me really happy. But I am aware that you need to do a lot of things around that to build that merchandise that you're going to sell, because at the end we all want to paint and sell, have sales to live good, to have income, and I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, I would just ask one question, which is, what time do you wake up?
I wake up around 8 o'clock in the morning, and right now with this pandemia, since my daughter is having online classes, and the first class is English, I don't exist from 9 to 10 because I have to be with her, helping her, and then I just cross the door, I go back to my studio, and I'm like, okay, what's next? We need to start the day, just a coffee and start working. And I stop working every day around 6:30 or 7 p.m. and after that, whatever was done was done. I work on Saturdays half day from 9 to 2, and after that I don't do anything else. maybe in your mind you're
Sure.
still working, but you need to be a father, you need to be a husband, you need to have a life, so
Sure.
you need to keep a balance.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to ask you some questions now that people have emailed in, okay? So,
Okay.
let me quick go through a couple here. Where was your favourite place when you travelled?
As a tourist?
Well, they just asked where was your favourite place. So I guess that could be teaching a workshop or just in general.
Okay, well, I can't say one. Maybe I can mention three or four. Uh, I fell in love with Istanbul. I believe this city is full of color, full of music on the streets, good food, nice people, a foreign culture for me. It's totally different. It's not, living in Mexico, like to travel to the States or go to South America, that you speak Spanish, you have the same religion, and most of the things are kind of like the same. So when you travel overseas to another country that is totally different, it's like, wow, everything is amazing. So Istanbul was a very, very nice place. Also, Paris, Rome. I've been to Rome, oh, I forgot the name of the city. Florence. Florence was a city that blew me away. You could see art everywhere. It's
Yeah,
really,
you
really
can.
nice. Also, I liked Amsterdam. I liked London. Well, yeah, London. I mean, I wish I had better weather and more days to visit more places in London, but I did go to the National Gallery and it was amazing. So uh, there's still a lot of places to travel, but Europe is, I believe, fascinating in a cultural way.
Yeah, I agree. We've got such diverse countries and um, yeah, right from the food to the languages, everything. It's all such a mixed bag in Europe, I think. I'd
Yes.
agree with you there.
And I believe you would agree with me that sometimes we put tags on countries,
Mm-hmm.
and we say that this is not a good country or this is a dangerous country. For example, Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I know that maybe overseas you think in Mexico and you think in like the bad things, the cartels, and it is, they are, and it's a dangerous place, but it also has uh, a lot of beautiful, beautiful things, colors, culture, people. It's just where are you going and what do you want to see? I think
I totally
every
agree.
city has both sides of the coin. You have
Totally.
this dangerous area and you have this dark part that maybe you don't want even to speak about it. And there's also beautiful people, there's also good food and
Sure.
relations and whatever. Yeah.
You know, I spent a lot of time in South America, and Brazil's one of my favourite places. And there's a drive that you
Yes.
can do from Sao Paulo to Brazil that I've driven. And everybody said to me, "Don't do it. It's too dangerous." And yeah, it was dangerous. There's tons of favelas over there and things like that. But I never experienced any problems. But I know that it's there. You know, in the hostels that I was staying at, there was people that were getting robbed and things. But it's the situation that's there. We were there throughout Carnival, but then I've also had the same in India. You know, I've spent a lot of time in
Yeah.
India. But hey, I'm not being funny. It happens on the doorstep here in Yorkshire. So, you know what I mean? It's everywhere. I agree
Yes.
with you. I can't personally. I would love to visit Mexico. So that it doesn't put me off. Trust me.
Well, you will be welcome. Once there's a friend of me that travels a lot told me, and I won't forget those words. If you're going to wait for the world to be a nice place to travel, then you won't travel.
Yeah, never leave your
So
house.
Yeah, it's true. You need to take risks
Yeah.
and try to look on the right side of things.
I agree. I mean, it's for me, travel is about the people that you meet, the food, the drink,
Yeah.
the scenery. There's so much more to it, and I think some of the worst places in the world that I've been to have been the most beautiful because the people usually outshine the problems that they have
Yes.
there. You know. So,
Yeah, totally
right,
agree.
I'm going to ask you another one.
Okay.
How long does a painting take? And that was a bit of a generic one too. They didn't say what sort of size or anything like that. So could you give an idea of like the painting behind you, for example? How
Yeah,
long?
yeah. Most of my most of the sizes of my paintings, my regular work is 140 centimeters by 180. I don't know in this imperial metric. I mean inches. I don't know how many inches is it, but in meters, it's most of my paintings are this size. Except for the ones that I do like for the workshops that are smaller because I need to travel. But on this size, I regularly take around 6 to 8 weeks since I make the drawing to my last brush stroke. Okay, between 6 to 8 weeks, and that doesn't mean that I'm 8 hours painting each day. We already talked about that. Sometimes I can't paint in the whole day, but it's usually what it takes me to make a large painting. I usually work on layers. I respect and I admire pretty much the people that can solve things in one layer. Like if they're like a human printer, I don't know how to do that. So I work upon layers, and usually I take from 3 to 5 or 6 layers to complete a painting. And I don't paint the second layer until the first layer is totally full. I mean, uh, not just on an area. If I'm painting the first layer, I need to cover the entire canvas. And then the second layer is also covering everything. So I work between 3 and 6 layers.
Wow. Okay. So what about drying time there? Does it dry in between each day or?
Yes, because it is a big painting, and I'm pretty sure that in one day I'm not going to cover all the area. So I concentrate on a zone, and when I finish it, maybe it takes 2 or 3 days to dry before I can add another layer, and I paint on another area. Maybe for let's say I'm painting the human body, and I'm working on the feet. Maybe the feet take me one day, or maybe okay 1 day, but 3 or 4 hours that I was actually painting, and I finished the feet. The next day I will paint the legs. Maybe the the problem could be to try to match the colors. Once you get used to it, you can't tell the difference of what was painted one day and the other day. But I know that there's artists that struggle with that because they make different decisions on one day and the other day, and you can tell that the values of colors are different.
Sure.
But you can always fix that because you can make another layer with very small amount of paint to blend them, or there's tricks to do to solve that.
Sure. Wow. That's cool. Okay, another one. What do you do to unwind? I like that one. What do you do to switch off? I know that you have your wife and your daughter, but what do you enjoy doing outside of art? What does Omar, the regular guy, do?
I live near the forest in Guadalajara, which is like 5 minutes from here. So I try to go do mountain biking each Sunday, riding around 15 or 20 kilometers on my bike and having some adrenaline to clear my mind. I also have a woodwork shop, which is a small area, but here 2 meters away from where I work. and sometimes I'm actually sitting down, painting, concentrated, and something goes through my mind to build or to do with wood. And I have, don't tell anybody, but I have spent a large amount of money with this pandemic that you need to be closed down. So I need to have my mind working on something that is not actually painting. And I go to my wood workshop and start building things or doing something, and then I put away the dust and I go back and I sit and I continue painting. I need to have something to free yourself from work. Yes, to switch off.
Mine's my dog. You know, we all have something, right? Okay, another one. How do you get started in the morning? How do you get going in the morning? What makes you wake up in the morning and you think, yeah, I got to get going?
Well, I always have work planned, and I believe I have more work than I can do. So it's not like, what am I going to do today? Right. The first thing when I get to my studio is turn on the computer, have a coffee, answer emails, check social network. If I'm going to edit a video or whatever, I try to free myself from things from the computer. And once I solve that part, that is selling, answering clients or whatever, then I free away from that administrative part of my day. And then when I sit in front of the canvas, I try to put some earphones or something that disconnects me and puts me on a painting mood and concentrate in what I'm doing. So my day begins pretty much every day in the computer.
What are you, when you say you're putting things on in your ears, what are you listening to? What music do you listen to? Or is it podcasts?
No, I like pretty much hip hop. I like reggae, I like rock, sometimes I'm in a classical mood, sometimes I like music from the 70s, I don't know, I like something to pop me up, and Guns N' Roses or Tupac or I don't know, you name it.
Wow, I didn't have you down for that, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, another one, and this will be the last one, and then I'm going to talk about brushes.
Okay.
So, blah, 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 blah. What, this was, it was a longer question, so I tried to shorten it down, but one gentleman asked, what meaning do your paintings hold? And do you mean for them to have a mystery behind them?
I always try to think in that details can tell you a story, or that provoke emotions, just present things. I read a couple of books about minimalism, where less is more, so I try to keep it simple, and it's not like they have a special meaning or a maybe some do, maybe some don't. I believe I answered this question at the beginning of the interview. It's the passion of trying to achieve beauty and aesthetics with the human figure and with naturality, simplicity. So these are the concepts that move me in making decisions.
Good answer. You're really good at this. You should never think that you're not good at this, because you're doing great. Right, I know.
Thank you.
My mum will kill me if we don't talk about brushes just for 5 minutes. And I do this at the end because it's not about brushes. It is about the fact that we're connected by my mum and my company, our company, our beautiful thing we've created, and that's how we've come to talk. So I'm going to quickly show your brush set video with brushes flipping around.
Okay.
Joe, who you met earlier, is our videographer guy. So I'm going to put that on, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about brushes, okay?
Right, yes. With pleasure.
There we go. Um, I think that
Okay.
looks really cool. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I'll share it with you after, and it looks smart. So, I think one of the things I wanted to ask you was how you heard about us.
I think you heard about me first. Um,
Ah, did
um,
was this
yeah,
from my
I
mum?
don't really have a good memory, but yeah, I think your mom sent me a message. I don't know, maybe 6 years or 7 years ago by Facebook Messenger, I believe. Maybe I was already following you guys, but we never had contact. And she offered me to send me a few samples to
Sure.
try the brushes. And before that, I used to have local brushes of what you can buy in Mexico, and I hadn't by that time traveled um, very often to Europe or to other
Mhm.
places where you can get better quality brushes. And I purchased some brushes in Spain and some other brands that were okay, were very nice. But once I tried the brushes that you guys make, because of these samples, I was engaged, and I was like, I felt that the quality was really, really good. I've seen a couple of videos that I think you interviewed Cesar Santos and other
Yeah.
artists, and I have a really good appreciation for Cesar Santos. And in one video, I saw that he was mentioning something that was I believe is really true. That he said that uh, it's very hard to be an artist and take decisions and be good with your hands, to struggle with brushes. Brushes should be like an extension of your hand. That's, I believe that's
Mhm.
textual what he said, and it's true. Once you get your hands on a good brush, and you feel you don't have to struggle with that brush to
Mhm.
give the texture or the effect that you want, everything comes out easier and faster without having a hard time. So uh, this selection of brushes that is the set that I believe you put
Yeah.
on the video is like a decision of what I use and of what I have chosen as a selection to paint the way that I do it. I like to divide the type of brushes mainly in two groups. One group of brushes is the ones that I use to paint,
Mhm.
and other group of brushes is the ones that I use to blend or to soften. So I always have, when I'm painting, a lot of brushes. Sometimes you don't like to take brushes and brushes out because then you have to clean them and it's too
Mhm.
much work. But if you don't do that, you will have a hard time trying to solve it. So
Mhm.
I use brushes that are hard, that are more stiff, to pick up the paint and lay it in the canvas and build up, this map of color.
Mhm.
And then I use other regularly red sable or Kolinsky or this goat, very soft
Sure.
mops brushes to blend the color. And you can do it in 5 minutes, very quick with the right brush. instead of spending 30 minutes trying to blend and soften with a hard brush that it's only giving you like lines and that it doesn't soften. I also have a selection in there of brushes to paint the hair. This sword line brushes are the magnific, and the riggers and small brushes for details. I don't like to paint or to build up a painting with only a small brush, pixel by pixel. I like to work with large brushes that I believe sometimes the tool can obligate you to be creative. And if you try to solve everything with a really small brush, your work will look more like a replication of a photograph, or like a flat image that is not doesn't have like this dynamic. I like to look at the work, for example, Jeremy Lipking and this I forgot the first name. I believe his last name is Keys. I think you worked with him, that paints flowers.
Daniel.
Daniel Keys. I love their work because I would want to be that spontaneous as they are, and they leave things like with the impression of the brush. But I tend to soften and soften, and sometimes it makes me a hard time because I would want to be more free. And sometimes I trick myself, forcing me to work with other tools that are not in a comfort zone, and that makes you be creative and give another sensation to the painting. So this selection of brushes there's brushes to paint the background, there's brushes to paint big impasto, very thick material, and there's brushes to do fine lines, there's brushes to soften. For example, I'm totally in love with your fan brushes, number 4, especially this red sable. I feel this is a really dynamic tool that you can do a lot of things depending on how you hold the brush and the pressure that you make. You can do a lot of things with only one brush once you know how to use it. So, yeah.
So what we should do is ask you if you could, at some point, perhaps, I don't know if you would ever do this. I know you're busy. But maybe you could actually go through the different brushes in your set and show a couple of ideas of how you use the brushes. Or do you already do that on your Patreon?
No, I haven't made a video with large detail in explaining the brushes. I always do this on the workshops. I pull out the brushes and tell the people why I use them, why I pick them, how I feel about them. I'll try to give an example. Maybe it's a really dumb example, but I think it's a good way of saying it. For example, I always put on 2 groups, the synthetic brushes and the natural hair brushes, especially Red Sable and Kolinsky. I always tell the students, for example, if you have 2 buckets of paint and I give you on one hand a plastic bag and on another hand a microfiber piece of sheet, how would you paint with these 2? If you have a plastic bag and you put your hand inside the bucket and you pull out paint and you try to paint a wall, maybe you give 2 brush strokes and the paint is finished. You don't have any more paint in the bag. And try to soften that. You won't be able to do it because the bag is giving you a texture that sometimes you could use that in your advantage, but sometimes you can't. But if you have a microfiber sheet, put it into the bucket and use it, and I bet 10 pounds on this that you can paint and paint and paint because it's like a sponge. It absorbs all the paint and it's releasing the paint. So that's how I compare red sable brushes, for example, with synthetic brushes or Bristol, this hog hard hairs
Yeah.
that are good for painting like backgrounds and things, but not when you're trying to solve uh, thin layers of paint and softness on a portrait or something. So I believe there's a specific brush for each
For
thing.
each thing.
Also, if you have expensive brushes and you try to paint by layers and you use that brush since the beginning to the end, you will finish up that brush very quick, and it was really expensive. So what I do is I use cheaper ones for the first layers where you're more aggressive with the paint, and I leave the ones for the special effects to use them at last.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Let me ask you a favour. You see behind you, there's the big pot of brushes. Just grab that pot, and then, okay, here we go. And then tell me, out of that whole pot, which brush could you not live without? If I had to say to you now, you have to finish that painting, and you're only allowed one brush to finish the rest of the painting, which brush would it be?
Okay, from this pot, you're not going to let me choose two? Just one?
One brush.
Okay. Maybe I would pick this. I love, I don't know if you can see it right
just
here.
About. Yeah.
I love this cut. I believe it's, how do you say this?
Cat's tongue.
In Spanish we say cat's tongue, exactly. I think this is more versatile for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would pick a large brush. If I can only pick one, I would pick a medium or a large size that if you know how to handle it, you can make small details.
Right.
And you can cover big areas. If you pick a small brush to work everything, then, as I said, it's like painting by pixels, and I don't like that way of painting. So I would pick these red sable, which has really big amount of absorption.
Does it say on the hand? Is it series 66?
It's series 91.
91, okay.
Pure sable.
So 66 is Kolinsky sable.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have Kolinskys in this pot.
Yeah, no, don't recommend too many Kolinskys, otherwise everybody cries because they're so expensive. One thing I wanted to finish on, well, two things I wanted to say was, when you mentioned Jeremy and Daniel, Daniel has been on this with me 2 weeks ago. And Jeremy's going to be coming on in a couple of weeks' time. So that was, I just wanted to tell you that. But then the final thing I wanted to tell you was we've come out with a brand new range this week called the Red Dot Collection, which I don't think you've seen yet. I've only posted it. No, I've only posted it on our stories on Instagram, but I'm going to send you some of the cat's tongues of those and see what you think, because they're 100% synthetic. Which for a lot of people is vegan friendly, but also the price is lowered on them. They're really economically priced, and they should last. I know the thing is that sable wears down as opposed to synthetic wears out, so you may really enjoy them. That doesn't mean that you can change your set.
No, but I would like to try them. Also, I love these series. They're pretty much a workhorse. They're this Eclipse.
Yeah, is that the long filbert?
Yes, I like the long filberts because I feel they're more friendly. They're not so stiff, and you can do more range of effects with. Also, they last longer. But also, I like long handles. Everything that I purchase from you guys is always long handle because I like to hold my brush from the middle to the back. I believe that the work is meant to be done with all your arm, and I always how do I say the students I tell them that they're not doing right when they try to grab the brush like if it was a pencil.
Sure.
That's the wrong way to hold the brush, according to me.
Well, but what about when you're trying to do real detail, real fine work? Would you hold the brush?
Well, I hold it from the middle, and maybe I use my other hand or a stick to have stability on the hand, but I try to concentrate. I don't drink, so I don't have like a really bad pulse, and I don't hold the brush from here. The closest I would do would be maybe from here.
Really?
But this way, you don't get you don't have a bad time with your wrist.
Right.
Really, really hot, really tired because you're working with all your arm.
Right.
Really small details, maybe. Yeah, you concentrate and you put your finger and you paint like this, but too many movements like this in a couple of hours, you will end up with this having some trouble.
Yeah, real problem in the wrist.
Huh. Yeah, the wrist.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you go because we've been an hour and a half, but also because I know you're a busy guy, and I'm going to send you some of the new Red Dot range for you to see what you think. Let us know. And then what I thought might be fun with the lead up to Christmas is we'll share this, you and I will share this, and people can comment below about the interview, and then you and I can get our heads together maybe the week before Christmas and we'll give away one of your brush sets.
Okay, that would be nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be really nice, and we'll FedEx it. We'll wrap it up for Christmas, so it's a Christmas present for somebody. I don't know. I think that'd be, and we could also. I tell you what, we'll also put a couple of the Red Dot, the cat's tongues in there for them. So that'll encourage people to watch this and make a comment below about what they thought. But I've got to tell you, I've loved talking to you. You are a natural, I promise. Way more natural than I am at this, so it's just a pleasure, and I hope that people have found it interesting. I really mean it when I say that people will put you on a pedestal and think that you've always had it easy because they only judge the last thing that they saw of you.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you being so honest that it's not always like that.
I know.
And there's so many other things involved that you've got to look out for and be careful about, so I hope people will have found that useful. Thank you.
Yes, hopefully people will find interesting this little chat, and I had a really good time speaking with you. I believe we never did this in the past.
No.
Always emails and messages, but never face to face, so thank you, Simi. Appreciate it.
Listen, and whenever you're in Europe, come and stay in Yorkshire, and I'm gonna give you my word here. In the next couple of years, I'm gonna come out to Mexico. I've always wanted to come, so I'd love to come and see you. So thank you for your time. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, darling.
Bye bye.